Hello everyone, welcome to the U.S. Immigration Information. For years now, families across the world have been living in a kind of suspended life. Petitions approved, but interviews delayed. Priority dates stuck for years in the Visa Bulletin. Parents separated from children, spouses waiting across oceans, and every time Congress mentions immigration reform, one question rises immediately. Is this finally the moment something changes? Now, in March 2026, the House of Representatives has approved a new immigration bill. And the big question everyone is asking is simple. Could this actually speed up family green cards? In this video, let's break it down what this House-approved bill really does, what it could mean for family-based green card applicants, and whether this is the kind of change that might finally move those long processing timelines forward. If you are liking this video, please hit the bell button, subscribe, and like it, so that you may get updates straight to your smartphone. Now, let's get into the video. First, let's clarify something important. This bill has passed the House, but it is not law yet. That means it still needs to pass the Senate, and then be signed by the President before any changes take effect. So, nothing changes overnight. USCIS processing timelines do not instantly shift. The Visa Bulletin does not suddenly jump forward, but House approval is still meaningful. It shows momentum. Now let's talk about what this bill is trying to fix. One of the biggest structural problems in the U.S. immigration system has been the per-country limit. Under current law, no single country can receive more than roughly 7% of the total family-based immigrant visas available each year. That rule was designed decades ago to maintain diversity in immigration flows. But today, it has created massive imbalances. Countries with very high demand, like Mexico, India, the Philippines, and China, have built up enormous backlogs. In some family preference categories, siblings of U.S. citizens or adult children have been waiting well over a decade. Some categories stretch far longer. Meanwhile, applicants from lower demand countries sometimes move much faster, simply because the cap doesn't bind them the same way. The House-approved bill addresses this issue by proposing to raise the per-country limits for family-sponsored immigrants. In simple terms, it would allow more green cards to go to applicants from countries where, honestly, the line is currently the longest. That does not increase the total number of family green cards dramatically, but it redistributes how they are allocated. If this becomes law, the effect could be significant over time. Priority dates for heavily backlogged countries could begin to move more steadily instead of creeping forward year by year. Families who have been stuck in the system for years might finally see movement. But here is where we need to slow down and stay realistic. Even if the Senate passes this bill tomorrow and it becomes law, the Department of State would still need to reconfigure how visas are allocated. The Visa Bulletin is a complex balancing mechanism. When you change per-country limits, it does not simply accelerate everyone at once. There may be transitional adjustments. Some categories could advance quickly. Others might experience short-term recalibration as the system rebalances. And that brings us to the deeper question, will this speed up your case? If you are waiting on an I-130 petition that is still pending at USCIS, this bill does not automatically shorten that processing time. Petition adjudication is handled by USCIS under its own workflow and staffing capacity. And if you are waiting for a visa number to become current, especially in a preference category, then changes to per-country limits could directly affect your timeline. If you are waiting abroad at the NVC stage, documentarily qualified, but stuck because your priority date is not current, this is where the potential impact becomes more meaningful. Visa availability is what unlocks interview scheduling at consulates and embassies. If more visas become available to your country each year, interview scheduling could increase accordingly. But again, we are talking about potential impact over time, not instant approvals. Another important thing to understand is that this bill is part of a broader immigration conversation happening in Congress in 2026. Lawmakers from both parties recognize that the legal immigration system has been under strain. USCIS backlogs, NVC interview delays, and inconsistent processing timelines have created uncertainty for families and employers alike. In recent years, USCIS has tried to stabilize processing timelines and reduce backlogs in certain categories. We've seen improvements in naturalization cases. We've seen adjustments in how processing times are displayed publicly. But structural issues, like visa caps written into federal law, cannot be solved by USCIS alone. Only Congress can change those numbers. That's why this House vote matters. It signals that lawmakers are willing to revisit rules that have been frozen for decades. Still, Senate approval is not guaranteed. Immigration remains a pretty politically sensitive issue, you know? Amendments could be introduced, and debate could slow progress. Or, the bill could be merged with broader reform proposals before final consideration. So, while the House vote is definitely positive momentum, it is not the finish line. For families watching this video, here's the practical takeaway. If you are in a heavily backlogged country and waiting in a family preference category, this bill could improve your odds of faster Visa Bulletin movement if it becomes law. If you are a U.S. citizen petitioning for a spouse, which falls under the immediate category and is not numerically capped, your case may not be directly affected by per-country limit adjustments because spouses of U.S. citizens are already exempt from annual numerical limits. But if you are petitioning for siblings, adult children, or you are a lawful permanent resident sponsoring certain relatives, the numerical cap is often the primary reason for extended delays. That's really where this reform could matter most. And for those of you tracking USCIS processing timelines closely, remember this. There are two different clocks in the immigration system. The first clock is petition processing at USCIS. The second clock is visa availability controlled by the Visa Bulletin. This bill mainly addresses the second clock. Now let's talk about emotion, because immigration is never just paperwork, right? When families hear that Congress passed something related to green cards, hope rises quickly. People start calculating. They start imagining reunions. They start thinking about interviews finally being scheduled. That hope is powerful, and it's totally understandable. But hope should be balanced with patience. The immigration system changes slowly. Even positive reform takes time to implement. Agencies must publish guidance. Systems must be updated. Officers must be trained on new allocation rules. So, here is where we stand in March 2026. The House has approved a bill that targets structural visa allocation rules. It has the potential to ease family green card backlogs, especially in high-demand countries. It still needs Senate approval, and even if enacted, implementation would be gradual. For now, continue monitoring official USCIS announcements and the monthly Visa Bulletin. Avoid reacting to social media rumors that promise instant acceleration. And if you have a pending case, stay organized. Respond promptly to any RFEs. Keep your documents updated. Track your priority date carefully, because when structural reforms do move forward, the people who benefit first are often those whose cases are already properly positioned in the queue. The line may not suddenly disappear, but if this bill ultimately becomes law, it could allow that line to move more fairly and more predictably than it has in years. We will continue following every Senate development, every Visa Bulletin shift, and every USCIS processing update so you understand exactly what changes and when it changes for your green card journey. That's all we have for this bulletin. The U.S. Immigration Information Channel provides all necessary visa information and procedures for your U.S. immigration journey. It is important to understand the United States immigration processing steps, visa application requirements, processing times, forms, fees, and more. We will continue to provide all information about U.S. visitor visas, such as B1 and B2, work visas, such as L1A, L1B, and H1B, student visas, green cards, immigrant visas, EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5, and family immigrant visas. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the U.S. Immigration Information Channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.